Hello and welcome to the Shine the Light On podcast. My name is Eli Brown, founder of Shine the Light On. Shine the Light On was created after I went through a personal struggle with mental health. After I came through the other side of my challenges, I wanted to create something that would be a platform for youth all around the world to share their story. Each week, we will have a new guest to discuss how mental health has touched their lives. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, so thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Eli. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so how's your day going so far?
Well, so far I've worked out, made a little protein shake and, quarantine friendly. I worked out inside. It's going really well. And I am just really, really excited to talk with you today. I am such a fan of what you're doing. So I feel like it's, two worlds colliding.
Yeah, definitely. A good buddy of mine got me introduced to you. You just did a podcast with them, and I started looking up all the amazing work that you're doing. It's quite incredible what you're doing, and the platform that you're creating for young adults around the world to be able to talk about anxiety and mental health.
Yeah, thank you so much. That means so much to me. And I feel really grateful, and I still have so many moments throughout the day where I'm like, whoa, like this is real life. It's very surreal. And, I never in a million years when I was 15, 16, 17, and my anxiety was really bad, like severe crippling panic attacks. And I could barely make it through one school day without calling my mom, texting her, like, I'm dying, come pick me up. To, now I've written books and I've been on the news and I've done TED Talks and I've formed this platform where I have a fan base, and I've gone in public sometimes and people are like, are you Megan Gallagher? I'm like, what? Is this real life? But I feel so grateful.
Yeah, and it's quite surreal when people turn their greatest challenges in life into their greatest successes.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you did. You took pain and struggle that you went through as a young adult and turned that into a platform to educate youth around the world of mental health and anxiety, and have come through the other side of it.
Yes. And it's just genuinely from my own experience. When I was in high school, I struggled with anticipatory anxiety. I've never struggled with depression or anything else. It's just been anxiety, panic attacks, low self-esteem, body image issues. I struggled with a lot. I was like a people pleaser, and it all kind of, came back to one another. They all somehow meshed under the same umbrella.
Yeah. They're all related. Yeah.
Right. I was feeling anxious, and then I didn't feel good enough. So then I would be the class clown, the super hyper extrovert, to try all these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it really, 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 really comes from this genuine place of, I know what it's like to be that student who is just like, am I the only one feeling this way? Why are none of my classmates talking about mental health or, besides college or real life stuff that I feel really matters, and it will help us manage ourselves long term of, well, no teacher is talking about, what do you do when you turn 30 and you realize you aren't happy? What do you do when you want to make a career shift and no one's taught you, this emotion means this. And so I'm like, you know what? I know what that feeling is. And I really wanted to be that person that other teenagers can be like, oh my gosh, so I'm not the only one feeling this way. And so it really is just the most personal thing in my life of, I've been there. I know what it's like to sit in these assemblies where, they're like, say no to drugs, and you're in high school and they're just, but it's so they treat you like you're 5 and you're like, this isn't real life. Half the kids I went to high school with, obviously, but no one talked about it. But it's everyone struggles with something, whether it's mental health or a chronic illness or condition or ailment. But I just think having the circle conversations where you feel safe and you feel heard and seen and you're not going to be judged, it's just really powerful. And I just always like, we would have, once a year, someone would come in and we would talk about like suicide prevention and peer pressure and safe sex and all these things. But I was like, I want more of this. I love these open conversations where we take a break from just like, oh, see you at homecoming, love this test. Oh my gosh. But like, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I know that was one of the crazy things when I look back and really reflect on everything that I went through as well. And it was looking at relationships that I had with friends and family and teachers. And a lot of the relationships were surface level.
Yes.
It was, hey, how are you? How's school? How's this? And it created this environment where not many people felt comfortable saying, oh, I'm struggling with this. I'm having a tough time with this. This is how I feel inside. And then it was through sharing my story that I realized I'm not alone. This is a common feeling. Like a lot of people are out there feeling this exact same way, but it just took that first time of being vulnerable and sharing the story for them people to be like, yeah, I feel the same way. And this is what I went through.
Yeah.
And now trying to carry that forwards to new relationships that I have, or even on old relationships I have. How do I take it so it's less of how was school or how was work? What'd you have for dinner? To how are you really feeling today? And how are you, what's troubling you and how can I help? And I saw that was a huge shift because, just like you would be going to school and we would have these yearly assemblies. And even though the conversations could sometimes get deep, it was only happening once or twice a year.
Right? It's just not enough like consistent, intense where you're like, oh no, this is real life. It's not just like, oh, it's before Christmas break. It's,
Yeah. And then it was just like, even though those specific conversations weren't surface level, it was like a hot flash in a pan where it was just like, okay, we're doing it. It was a conversation the rest of the day, and then the following day in class, the teachers would ask questions. But then after that 24-hour period, it was just back to regular programming.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the work that you do, is because it's something that you're doing every single day, and then putting, implementing this into schools and into people's minds. So it's not just a 24-hour thing. It's something that they can really take along for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I really, really, really feel that there is a reason why so many people get to, not everyone, but there is a reason why a lot of people get to 25, 30, 35 years old and they have that like quarter half-life crisis of like they just freak out and they're like, wait, whoa, pump the brakes. Like, I'm not happy. This is the first time someone's asked me what I want to do with my life. This is the first time, I'm like actually checking in with myself and my body and my emotions, and I'm not happy and I'm freaking out and, I'm not happy in this relationship. It's because schools aren't teaching children and teenagers how to do these things. They're teaching us about, some of the
math and science, but rather than, how to deal with emotions and how do we move on with our lives.
Yes. And I mean, most of it is very important. And I know that we need to know the basic like math and science, but there is extra room because I'm sorry, but we don't need to learn about the bubonic plague, things from like 1400 years ago. Like, we need to not learn about the past, but learn about the future. And they need to set up teenagers for success and set them up for like, here's how to pay taxes. Here's how to write a check. Here's how to change your tire. Like simple things, but it's
life
like
skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're going into schools, I assume you're speaking anywhere from middle schools to high schools. What are like some of the main questions that you're getting from these kids, and what's like the main message that you're trying to drive home to them?
So the main thing that I get, so I do my talks like literally like Oprah Winfrey, where I'm just like, you get a car. Like, I'm so into it. I like walk into the gymnasium, like doing backflips, and I'm like, woo. Cause I know as a speaker, I've just learned like, I have to bring the energy because I like the audience. I'm there to perform and to entertain and to make their day better. So I just get into like an amazing headspace. But I would say usually, I talk, I do my thing, I share my story, and then I'll say at the end, any questions, anyone have anything? And they just are like, and then I'm like, all righty, kids, it's been an amazing day. And then once I'm like done, like packing up my stuff, there will be kids who like, they're packing up their notebook really slowly. And they're like,
Yeah.
Of course, because I get it. Being a teenager, you don't want to ask a question or be embarrassed in front of your friends. So I have a lot of boys and girls stay behind when I'm packing up my stuff, and they will be like, Megan, you mentioned trusting your gut feelings. You mentioned listening to your intuition. Like, my parents don't talk about that. And could you explain it a little bit more? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, don't grow up in households where their parents encourage them to meditate and to go hike in nature and to seek the answers within and to go like really feel
and
out.
Try things.
Right. And to go feel what feels right for them. A lot of, parents are just like, well, this is what is best for you. And this is what looks good on paper. And that is going into this college because that's going to guarantee you this job and all of these things, which are great. Money is great. Like, financial stability is amazing. But I mean, like, none of it is worth it though if your child is miserable, depressed, anxious, like cannot even function.
Yeah, it's crazy how financial stability and money and following the typical path can lead to so many negative feelings, because a lot of the times that's not what people want to do. And it doesn't, and doing things in that way almost doesn't allow you the ability to explore things.
Yeah.
Like it's go to high school, go to university, party a little bit, but then you get a job and now you're just working 9 to 5. Like, it doesn't really give you that opportunity to be like, oh, well, maybe I want to be a chef. I'm going to go to, culinary school for 8 months, see if I like it, work at a restaurant. And if not, okay, maybe I want to be a carpenter and, learn that trade. Like there's, that's what I'm noticing. And my brother actually did that recently. He was in the finance world for probably about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And he said, oh, I think I want to be a chef. So he left the finance world. And,
that's amazing, though.
Went into culinary school. But I was like super supportive of it. But like all of his friends are just like, what are you doing? You're making all this money. You have a dream job. Like, why are you giving up that stability? He's like, because I'm happier cooking. Wow. And that's what I want to do. But yeah, it's an interesting thing that a lot of high school kids are asking you that question, because it's important to have the freedom to try new things. Yeah.
And I think it's just like the actual point of life is following your happiness. I really feel that it's just, but that takes getting in tune with your emotions and getting it like connected to your body and realizing what like is a pit in my stomach, like what is just an immediate no, and what's like a body reaction, because all the time, like I just feel like we always know what's best for us. We have the answers within. And if that's, we're dating someone and right off the bat, it just feels off and we just have that inner knowingness, but we're not taught to listen to that. And that's like our inner car GPS. Like when you're driving and you want to, let's go to the mall. Well, how do we get there? We follow the GPS. Same with our intuition. It's like, that person could, drive the nicest car and they're exactly what looks good on paper and they make like an insane amount of money. But if it does not feel right and you are just not happy and you do not know why, that is trying to tell you something. And that's why I want teenagers to just do what makes them happy, because that is the most like valuable thing in life. Would you rather, be stuck in a job that pays so much money, like you're in the finance world, whatever, you're miserable, you're doing it because it looks good to other people because you don't want to rock the boat and, your friends may stop inviting, you're afraid of what other people think about you? Or would you rather like just travel and try new jobs every few months, and maybe the money thing is different, but like you're happier because you're allowing your creative juices to flow. And I just think everyone naturally is an inventor. Everyone naturally is an entrepreneur. I really feel that everyone has their own dreams and goals and like ideas and things, but it's just over time, a 5-year-old has the biggest imagination, but then over time, through people, through school, through whatever, it's like it just kind of gets smaller and smaller because people are like, Megan, is that really realistic? Is that,
well, yeah, because people's judgments start to come into it, and it can really discourage people when you go out there and you say, hey, I want to do this. And then you have 20 friends and your family members saying, you're an idiot. Why would you go and do that?
Yep.
Like it's a lot of second guessing that comes in. And, it was interesting. You said, the comparing, making a lot of money in a job that you may not be happy or doing something funny. Like you said, if like everyone has that like inner entrepreneur, and I always find you can make a buck off of anything. Like you really can. Like you can turn anything into a buck. Like it's not easy to do, but you can figure out ways. And I feel like when people find something that they're passionate about and they're happy with, they will find a way to turn that into a job and to make money out of it. Like you like public speaking, you like writing. You've found a way to turn that into a living. Someone likes traveling. You can become a travel influencer. I mean, it's endless, and you can create different categories. And like I even found that with my work. It was like, okay, I want to be a mental health advocate, but I also need to eat. So how do I create something? And it was, through the clothing. And I really believe that when people find something that they're passionate about, they will find a way to turn that into a living as well. And that's the perfect combination of, being passionate about something and doing it every single day, and with hard work, turning that into a living.
They will. And something I don't talk a lot about is when I graduated high school in 2014, I moved down to LA, and then I did community college, like junior college, like 4-year for 2 years. And that time I was so unhappy. And my whole life, I was never an academic person. I was like the theater, drama, school plays. Like I loved entertaining and being on stage. That was like where I thrived. And I remember in community college, I felt like that's why I'm so obsessed with just like tuning into your emotions and trusting your gut feelings and connecting to ourselves. Because I remember in college, I was like, I'm not happy and I do not know why. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll move apartments. And then I did, and it still didn't go away. And I was like, this is scary. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'll stop talking to this friend. And then I kind of did. And then that feeling didn't go away. And I was like, I'll change my eating habits. What's going on? And I eventually got like physically sick, but it was this whole spiritual awakening where I wasn't supposed to be in college. That wasn't for me. And my soul was like so unhappy. And so I really, left college, had my health scare, got better. And then now I've like never been happier because I'm doing what really like, I feel so connected to my purpose on earth. And I feel like so aligned with this, just feels so right. I can't even like explain.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's interesting that you mentioned the changing of the apartments, because I did that as well. It's like, I think like when I was unhappy, I was like, okay, well, what can I change? And they were all material changes.
Right. Is that so? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe get a dog. Oh, it'll get me outside more. I'll start doing more exercise. I'll get more in shape. I'll be happy. Maybe I need to do this or, whatever it is, but they were all material changes. Some people even move cities, move countries, but your mind travels with you everywhere.
Right? It does.
A new car, new apartment, new friends, old friends, like it may help, but your mind's traveling with you everywhere. And a lot of the change has to come from within and finding that thing that you love and that you're passionate about. And, people always say, oh, well, I don't know what I'm passionate about. It's like, try different things and you will find that passion.
I know. Or it's like you do know, but like you're so busy trying to like constantly be doing things that you aren't taking the time to just pause and to sit with yourself, put away the phone, the computer, the emails, go meditate for an hour in nature. You will find like stuff comes up when you allow it to just like come through you of like, oh, the epiphanies, oh, the ideas, oh, I'm not supposed to, like, it will happen.
Yeah. And also trying to figure out ways to get away from the fear of judgment. Because that was one of the biggest things that held me back for a while. I was like, okay, I know what my passion is. I know what I want to do. But if I say it out loud, I'm worried how people are going to treat me and what they're going to think about what I want to do with my life. And to get over that fear was really, really difficult. And I found, okay, I'm going to tell my best friends first. Then I'm going to tell my brother, my sister, my parents. And then I started to see that as I was getting positive feedback about what I wanted to do, because I was reaching out to people that love me and that I love, it started to give me the confidence to really go out and pursue it.
That's awesome.
And there were still people who were like, Eli, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Like, you have no hope in this. But I also still had people who were supporting me and loving me. And it helped me get over the fear of judgment, of really following my passion and what I wanted to do. That's
amazing. That's so incredible.
Well, I mean, it's tough though, because, you go out and you tell your parents, oh, I'm gonna be a writer. Mm-hmm. Your parents are like, okay, there's a million writers out there. Why is someone gonna buy your book? And you're like, it's because I want to do it. I love it. This is what I'm passionate about. And now you're a 4-time best-selling author.
Yeah. No, I feel very lucky because my parents, me and my sister, are both very free-spirited, very open-minded, like totally. I mean, we are opposites in some way. Like, I am a natural overthinker and I worry a lot and I anticipate things and I have anxiety still sometimes. But, our parents could not be more like supportive. And I mean, she's like a painter and she does facial. Like, we're both just so, I don't know, just very creative. And we thankfully grew up in a household where our parents were like, 1 week I was like, wait, I want to play the clarinet in 5th grade. My parents are like, oh my gosh, let's go get a clarinet. And then I was like, wait, I want to be a fashion designer. It's just every 5 seconds I would change, but they were so supportive. They're like, put me in sewing classes. I want to work with animals, then put me so I think that really shaped me into who I am. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the most like, I want to explore, like, let's, just be adventurous and spontaneous.
Yeah. Just a perfect combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I really wanted to ask you was about the transition for you of struggling to now where you are.
Yeah.
What were some of the key things that you did to get you through that struggle? Because I know it's very different for everyone. And everyone does very different things to kind of get over that peak and now, where they are now. So like, what got you there?
So what got me there is basically, if I were to sum it all up, I have lived with, coped with anxiety and panic attacks basically my whole life, as young as 3 or 4 years old. And then it wasn't until I was a freshman in high school, 14, I was just old enough and I was, very connected to my body. And I was, it wasn't like a 5-year-old who just cries and you're like, what's wrong? And I was old enough to really be aware of, okay, so I'm noticing that something happens at, the same time, the same class where my stomach just like drops and I feel like a knot in my stomach and I get really, really, really hot and like just sweat flashes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. And my throat gets like closed up. And I was like, this is so weird. So I just took note of it. And then pretty soon I got into a 1.5 year routine, almost to my sophomore year of high school, where my body would anticipate that episode would happen again, same time, same class. And I still did not know what was going on. I really thought that I had like a heart problem, like a heart condition or something. And it was just scary. I would like ask my teacher, hi, can I go to the bathroom? And then I just felt like my heart was like giving out and I would rush to the bathroom because I didn't want my classmates to see me in that state, because it's really, it's not embarrassing, but having a panic attack, it's just such a personal, raw moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, these people are going to like, I'm going to like fall on the floor and like just start crying. And it's going to be so embarrassing. And I would say like the very end of my freshman year, I knew that I kind of accepted to myself that Megan Gallagher, had to ask for help. And that was something that my whole life I was always like deflecting and giving to other people. And I never really wanted other people to ask how I felt, because I just had this fear of, if people know the real me, like, yes, I'm goofy, hyper. I love that stuff. But, that's one side of me. Everyone has many sides to them, obviously. So it wasn't until end of freshman year, I was like, this is scary. I need help. And I'm admitting that to myself. So I asked my parents one night after dinner. I just sat them down and really was like, Mom, Dad, I don't know what's going on. And I thought it was like, literally, like, once again, like a heart or like a seizure. I did not know what was happening. And my parents just looked at each other and they're like, Megan, we love you so much. It's all good. Your dad can take it from here, but it's anxiety. And the moment they said that, I was like, wait, this has a name. This is a thing. Like, it's what? It's not, I'm not dying. Like, this isn't like a heart problem. And so literally the next week, first therapy session, just for the rest of high school, basically, I was seeing 3 different therapists every single week for a long time. And that changed my life because they introduced me to meditation, and I established a exercise routine. Every day I would exercise, and like my grades got better and my eating habits became more normal. And it was just a really, powerful journey. But I would say also, as I've gotten older now at 24, I've become way more spiritual. So I love therapy and it's amazing and it really, really helped me. But I'm really into, like deep breathing and chakras and more of like the spiritual side of anxiety and the spiritual reasoning for it. But I'm like super holistic. I've never been on medication for my anxiety. So I've just relied on EFT tapping, which I love, just like the side of your hand. I love EMDR. I love meditation. I love binaural beats. I love journaling, and I love exercise is like number one, like movement.
Yeah. I mean, I got introduced to that probably about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
I would say now to me, the breathing exercises are things that help me the most. And it sounds like for you, it was like you were struggling with anxiety of maybe a test coming up or in a specific class. And for you, what you needed was to learn breathing exercises so you could walk in that door, close your eyes, do an exercise at your desk almost.
Yes.
And be able to get through the class or a test or an exam.
Well, and I think also I needed to talk to someone where it wasn't like, a family member where it's biased. I really wanted to just talk to someone who didn't know me, who wasn't like, but Megan, but you're so, like, I just wanted the honest truth. And I really wanted to understand, and I needed to know that these are just thoughts. I am the one creating these thoughts, because for a while I genuinely felt like there was like a monster, like, this like lurking, like, oh my gosh, I'm being possessed by something. Like, I literally for a while didn't realize that I was doing this to myself, because this is my brain and I am constantly like in control of what I'm thinking about at all times. So it took me a while to make the connection of, okay, so, every time I think, oh, that person is, I'm ugly, or that, like, anytime I think a negative thought, it has a repercussion. It has a ripple effect. And I feel that as a pit in my stomach. It's like that thought drops down to my stomach and I'm like, now I have a stomach ache. But just making that connection of, oh my gosh, when I think better, when I think positive thoughts, it makes me physically feel better. So this isn't just a coincidence, and it's better for my health. It boosts my immune. So that's like what just blew my mind. I was like, wait, I get to control my thoughts.
Yeah, that's amazing that you've gone through that transformation of probably at the beginning of this where it was like, close your eyes and take 10 deep breaths.
Yes.
And that was, years ago, to now to the point where as things come up for you during the day, you're able to easily identify it, figure out where it's coming from.
Yes.
And make that adaptation to change if that certain thing in your body or in your mind that you'd like to do, which is incredible.
Yeah. And I feel very, 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 and I will say this, for the rest of my life, but I feel very lucky that my parents loved me enough to the point where they knew I needed help right then. And they didn't kind of just shove it under, the rug of like, oh, Megan, this is just a phase. Just, get good grades, go to this college. Because when you don't face it head on, right when, like, as a parent, your children. So if you notice, your child, their personality has changed, or they're hanging around, different people, maybe not the best friends, kind of making.
They're not eating habits change, sleeping habits change, interest in hobbies. Like those are all big signs. Yes.
Huge signs. And it's really important as a parent too, if any parents are listening, to really be aware of your child, be hyper observant and notice if they're like crying for help without actually asking for it, but you notice like, and I know there can be a lot of other reasons for changes, but any just change where their weight has changed a lot, fluctuated, they are hanging out with not great friends, like the bad influences, or they're staying out, they're kind of acting out, they're not replying back to you. Maybe they're dating a guy or a girl who's just like a really not a good mix for them. It's just important to know that those are things to be alarmed about. And it's good to like take action and to have consequences, because once again, being a teenager is actually like the best time to sit them down and have them get to know themselves and go through therapy, because then that sets them up for, they'll be good to go by like, or it depends on each situation. But, when they go to college, they'll have all of these amazing tools and they can, like be a functioning adult on their own and say, oh, wait, do I want to go to this party? Do these things make me feel good? Or am I just doing it just because it's cool, just to fit in?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think doing it at a young age, or a teenager, 14, 15 years old, we're starting to point out these things and provide kids with the tools needed to understand what's going on in their bodies and in their minds, and let them know that it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to have down days or super up days. Like that's normal. And to start giving them the tools needed, because as life goes on, those problems start to amplify more and more. And it's important to have those tools at a young age. And it's amazing, for you that meditation and mindfulness was the thing that, brought you to the other side.
Yeah, it was a mixture of a lot of things, but honestly, it was, just one, admitting to myself that something had to change, because I was barely functioning. I would get ready for high school in the morning. I would wake up. The moment I woke up, I would just be like, oh gosh, today, and like the what if train. What if I die? What if I pass out at school? What if I throw up in front of other people? Like
all things you couldn't control.
Exactly, because the thing about anxiety is you have a fear of losing control. So you want to have control because it makes you feel better. So, I mean, like, it sounds crazy saying out loud, but any thought, I would just have it. Any thought, I'm going to throw up in front of other people. What if this guy that I have a crush on, what if he sees me? Like any worst case, it always was the worst possible scenario. What if I fail? What if the plane crashes? And it's important to be aware, if you continuously have those thoughts and they start with what if, then that means one, you're anticipating something that hasn't happened yet and you don't have control over the future. Two, it's probably anxiety. If you become aware of your thoughts and observe them, and 98% of them are negative. They're assuming, they're repetitive, they're judging, they are
worrying about stuff that's out of your control.
Yes.
And that hasn't happened yet.
Exactly. Then you probably do have, general anxiety disorder, or just something in your life where that's not going to serve you. And it's good to just inquire and think, well, why am I thinking this way? Because, what happened in my life that has led me to not believing in myself, or imagining the worst case thing happening, and all of a sudden, like, everything is so dark and heavy.
Yeah. And one thing I really do want to ask you, because you are the meditation and mindfulness expert. You've written books about it and you speak about it. I would love it if you could close it off with a little breathing exercise, something that helps you get, you through tough times, or when those anxious feelings start coming up. Because I know, for myself, like I have something that I do every day, but I like to change it up every once in a while, because sometimes I find like I do need that change.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could do a quick little breathing exercise with us.
Of course. I'm so excited you said that, because just this morning I was doing it. So do you care if I stand up? Because I kind of have to do like... Not
at all.
Okay,
yeah, go for it.
Okay, so ignore the laundry on the couch. Real life, quarantine life.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, this is a really awesome breathing technique. I kind of made it up myself. I am a fan of Wim Hof, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I kind of got creative and was like, I wonder if I, just mixed it up and what feels good to my body. So you want to do this lying down on a yoga mat or your bed or couch, something comfortable. And make sure when you are lying down that your head, don't have a pillow. You want to make sure that everything is fully flat, because you want to make sure that your esophagus and your airway isn't closed off, or you feel like you're choking. So let's imagine I'm lying down. Okay, so here's my stomach. So the first part, it's like a 3-part series. So part 1, you go you inhale, stick out your stomach. So, and then you stick out your stomach and really...
Yeah, I'm trying to do it here, yeah.
You really just want to exaggerate it, because this is all about getting your diaphragm moving and engaged, rather than just breathing shallow. That's when you feel anxious. So 1, and then the second part is you push all the air up to here, and then third part, push it exhale all out. So it's just and it's really good to just exaggerate the motions and really get into it. You look weird, but who cares? Shrug up your shoulders. You feel all the oxygen up here, and then let it all out. So that
thank you. Honestly, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, I'm trying
even
to
just doing it sitting.
I don't know what to call it.
Even just doing it sitting down. I know I got to do it properly. I got to be laying down, but having that thing to focus on, being able to focus on your breath or my breath, it helps. It really does. And it just gets my mind thinking a little bit differently. It relaxes things, especially in times like this. It's extremely stressful, with everything that's going on in the world, and being able to take 5-10 minutes a day to just lay down on the ground and do something like this is amazing.
Yeah. And
thank you for sharing that.
Of course, you're so welcome. And one thing I want to add really quick too is I really, every morning and night before I go to bed, I really do this for about 30 minutes. In the beginning, I started with just, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I built myself up. But when you get into a really good rhythm, I've noticed that the more I do it, I really just notice, wow, I do it so often when I'm in the middle of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it just brings me back to the present moment. It really, if I do that breathing technique enough times in a row, I notice that my brain, has to start focusing on imagining the oxygen, leaving, inhale, exhale. And that to me is the best thing ever, when you can just focus on something else instead of your thoughts.
Yeah. It's an amazing reset to do that. And it's a great power to be able to give your body and your mind that ability to reset and get back to the present moment.
Yes.
Yeah. That's so amazing. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Of course.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Of course. I forget where I think I literally just made it up myself one night. I was because I'm also a dancer and I've always just been very in tune with my body. And I love, just coming up with different things and intuitively what feels good to me. And that is just honestly, something it's just anytime I know my thoughts have just wandered, or they're just, I don't know where my mind is, I don't feel grounded in the present moment.
It's something to bring you back.
Yes. So helpful.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope you can get a patent or a trademark on it. Let me know if you do, and let me know what the name is, and I'll start using it.
I know. I don't even know what what I'd call it, like the 3-part series or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let me know.
I will.
Yeah. And thank you so much for doing this. I'm so happy that we met. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be doing that breathing exercise right after this.
Woo! Of course. You're so welcome, Eli. And I mean, I'm all about spreading the positive vibes and, just, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like we all have just so many things to be grateful for in life. And I just know, for me, I know what I went through. And one of my favorite quotes and one of the titles of my book is, "Everything is happening for me, not to me." And that's something my dad taught me. And it's just so true. It's like that time was so challenging and it was really painful at times. But now it's like, I feel like I'm in a different world because I'm speaking about it.
It made you who you are today.
Yes.
Like a lot of challenges, it creates great resiliency in people and leads them along the paths that they need to go on.
Yes, I feel very grateful, and I feel it's connected me to so many incredible people like you and like Connor and Colin and just all of these wellness, mental health advocates and gurus, and it's just so cool, the community of like other people where you're like, wait, you're into breath work too? Like, I'm not the only one.
There's a large community, and I think people are becoming more and more, known to it, and people are really enjoying it, and people are looking for that thing to give their minds and their body a reset, because there is a lot of stress that goes on in people's lives, whether it's with family or personal life or work or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And giving yourself the ability to just get through that is such a huge help.
Yes. But yeah, this was so much fun, Eli. Thank you.